Hi, good evening, and welcome to yet another week's installment of the Minority Report. I am Marlon David, your host for the program, and we had a slight adjustment this week where our normally scheduled program is normally aired on a Tuesday evening. However, because of some matters of importance, we had to make a shift and push forward just one day on a Wednesday evening. And so we are coming to you this evening on the Wednesday and not the Tuesday. So for those of you who continue to support us, this is just a one-off shift. Next week, we continue with our regularly scheduled time and day on the Tuesday. That's the Tuesday after the holiday. And I really want to, as per usual, thank each and every one of you. So many persons take of their time and give of their time and their effort, put aside the time actually to support this program. And I really want to take this opportunity to say thank you on behalf of the minority leader and the minority counselor. Without you, this program would have absolutely no viewership and it will have absolutely no relevance. And while I use the word relevance, let me also say thank you to all our viewers, to all our listeners, to all those who comment, to all those who send greetings to make your contributions, whether it's on the live or via WhatsApp or even call in. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for making the Minority Report the #1 program on the Tobago Updates Network. And dare I say, the #1 program in Tobago on any particular media house at this time. I really want to say we appreciate the support, we appreciate the efforts and the time that is taken to really set apart and set aside to be a part of this program and to actually contribute and to work along with us. I want to encourage you to continue to do so. However, don't be selfish. Don't keep the information for yourself. Don't keep this experience for yourself. Tell a friend, share it with a relative, share it with a colleague. Let's get as many persons on board viewing the program and supporting what it stands for. There are many initiatives that we try to roll out even from on this very platform. And we really want all of Tobago to be a part of what happens on the Minority Report. For those of you who are viewing, you can look at this program on the Tobago Updates YouTube side, the YouTube channel. You can also view it on the Tobago Updates website. However, or the most frequently looked at platform is the Tobago Updates Facebook page. And as I say that, I'd like to encourage you to share the link, share the live link, tag a friend, tag 10 friends, 15 friends, 20 friends, as the information that we provide here and seek to provide every single week is information that is factual. It is information that is research and data driven. So when we present that information to the public, there is very little or no ambiguity that can be found in it. We want to encourage you to continue inviting persons to log on to the Facebook page and so on. And you can also view this particular program on M&E TV live as well. And so we have a number of different platforms that we have the program being aired across. For those of you who continue to support us by sending us messages, by making your comments, and for generally supporting the program, the number to message to send your comments is 6597. That's 284-6597. The other number to call is 356-8833. That's 356-8833. At this time, I'd like to say good evening to the Minority Leader, Assemblyman Kelvon Morris, and Minority Councillor, Mrs. Petal Daniel Benoit. Hard at work as per usual, quite a lot taking place, and we know that they definitely are on the ball and really pushing to get this information out and circulating amongst the public. And so I want to say good night to both of you all, doing an excellent job, and I'm certain many of our viewers, if not all of our viewers, would indeed agree with me on that. So they're sitting this one out this evening. However, I know that they are logged on and they're watching, and they're also trying to get as many people as possible on board. Today, the minority leader hosted a press conference at the office of the minority leader where a number of issues were treated with that are circulating in the public domain right here in Tobago. And we know, as many of us would have been following in the news, there is now that issue dubbed the Audio Gate. And that has garnered quite a bit of traction. However, there are other issues and other matters that are pertinent to Tobago's management, to the managing of the affairs of the Tobago House of Assembly that were also treated with. We have also the issue of presently there is no chief administrator appointed yet to take over from the previous chief administrator as she demitted office. And so what we saw today was a hosting of a press conference where both the minority leader and the minority councillor treated with these issues, presented the facts on the issues. We would have seen some information circulating in the public domain, persons going on television stations, media houses, and trying to create a particular narrative. Again, we know that based on the track record of this administration, when they say something to us, we have to take it with a pinch of salt. So this evening, what we're going to do, we're going to have a rebroadcast of the press conference, the pertinent points that were brought today. Again, we know that this information should really reach the wider public, and so we want to have this out there. As the press conference ends, we are then going to come back to studio and treat with some of the points made and probably expand on it a bit, give you the opportunity to make your comments and to share in the information. I can say to you, however, that this press conference is only a first step in a number of steps that are going to be taken by the minority leader and the office of the minority leader to ensure that whatever has to be done to give Tobago the best type of governance that it deserves, that is done, and that it is done with all fairness, with all trueness, and with the best interests of Tobago at heart. So at this point in time, I'll ask the director to queue up the file, and we will go right into that press conference that was hosted today out of the office of the minority leader. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media. Welcome to the office of the minority leader as we are about to begin this evening's press briefing. We'd like to begin a bit differently. We want to open with a word of prayer today. I'll invite those of you who can to bow your heads and close your eyes with us as we invite the Lord's presence. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for yet another opportunity where we can come before you, guided by your Spirit, guided by your word, guided by your principles, O Lord. Father, we pray, God, that even as we're about to begin this forum today, God, that it shall not only bring clarity, but that it shall also be beneficial to this island, to its people, and to the governance of the affairs of this island. We pray, O God, that every spirit that has been dispatched to create disturbances, to distractions, Lord, we declare that clarity shall prevail, that integrity and good governance shall emerge. And Lord, the information that is presented, Lord, will be clear, will be concise, and it shall continue to glorify you and continue to put the people of this island in a better place. We thank you for your presence in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Amen. Welcome once again, folks. Today we host yet another press conference out of the office of the minority leader, and as we know, there has been quite a lot taking place in the public domain in Tobago, and as usual, the minority leader and the minority councillor continue to provide facts, continue to provide clarity, continue to provide information in an effort to continue to keep the general public in the know as to what is taking place, how the affairs of the THA are being managed, and how this administration continues to carry about their business. At this time, I'd like to invite to the podium the Minority Councillor, Mrs. Petal Daniel Benoit.
A pleasant good afternoon to members of the media, to members of the public, viewing and listening to us wherever you are. Good afternoon and welcome to the press briefing of the Minority Council. So today, I will deal with the matter of the Chief Administrator in the Tobago House of Assembly, or rather the lack of the Chief Administrator in the Tobago House of Assembly. The facts are, and that was confirmed by the Deputy Chief Secretary, that the Tobago House of Assembly is currently without a Chief Administrator for approximately 1 month. And the Deputy Chief Secretary, in disclosing this information, she would have indicated that the reason why they are now coming to the public is because they did not want to politicize the absence of the Chief Administrator. However, in the same breath, the Deputy Chief Secretary attempted to politicize the said matter by blaming not only the Prime Minister of the Republic, but also some folks from Trinidad, whoever those persons are. Notwithstanding, the Tobago House of Assembly is currently without a Chief Administrator for approximately 1 month. I want to draw our attention to the Tobago House of Assembly Act 40 of 1996, Section 71. And it says that there shall be assigned to the Assembly a Chief Administrator who shall be a public officer for the purposes of Section 121 of the Constitution. And I want to repeat, it says, there shall be assigned to the Assembly. And seeing that we are without a Chief Administrator for approximately 1 month, it begs the question as to what are the implications, legal and otherwise, of not having a Chief Administrator. The minority and the public will like to know who is approving, who is delegating authority, who is making the decisions that should be under the pen of the Chief Administrator of the Tobago House of Assembly at this time. And again, we are asking the question, what are the implications, legal and otherwise, in the absence of the Chief Administrator of the Tobago House of Assembly? It is not the first time in the history of the Assembly that we have seen a transition of Chief Administrator. And it is certainly not the first time under this administration that there has been a transition of Chief Administrators. We would have seen that upon coming into office, the Chief Administrator at the time was Mrs. Bernadette Karuma, and she would have retired, and a new Chief Administrator was appointed in the person of Ms. Etlin John. So this administration would have had the transition between administrators, chief administrators. And we are asking, with this current appointment or transition to a new chief administrator, why is there a problem? What is the issue why there was not a smooth transition from one chief administrator to the other? And it appears as if everything this administration does is mired with confusion and bacchanal. So why was this transition mired with the normal bacchanal and confusion as presents itself with what happens under this administration? The Prime Minister would have held his press conference last Monday, and he would have indicated that the Public Service Commission would have done its job under Section 121 of the Constitution, and he would have met with the Chief Secretary in keeping with the THA Act 40 of 1996, Section 71. But what is quite interesting is the revelation that the Prime Minister made when he met with the Chief Secretary. And the Prime Minister would have indicated that there appears to be some pertinent information that was left out when he discussed matters relating to the Chief Administrator with the Chief Secretary. So the minority and also members of the public is asking the question, when did the Chief Secretary, when the Chief Secretary met with the Prime Minister, was the Chief Secretary aware that the individual that was next in line for the position of Chief Administrator was the subject of a complaint by the THA through the former Chief Administrator? And if the Chief Secretary was aware, why didn't the Chief Secretary report to the Prime Minister in their discussions, or rather disclose to the Prime Minister in their discussions, that the THA would have filed or is seeking to file a complaint or report for the officer who is next in line to be Chief Administrator? And another interesting thing that the Prime Minister would have revealed, that the Chief Secretary would have recommended another nominee. And we are asking the Chief Secretary, why did he recommend another nominee to the Prime Minister?
We have to correct our behaviors. I'm talking.
Based on the actions of this current administration, they continue to erode the public trust and confidence. When leaders meet, and in this instance, when the Chief Secretary and the Prime Minister met, all of us, the entire public, is of the view that you would disclose facts and information that is relevant to the discussion. And we are hoping that when leaders meet to discuss matters of state, that all facts will be placed on the table and that information shared will not be distorted or hidden. And when there's an attempt, or when it appears to be that information is distorted or hidden, then this can rebound to, or you may have the view that you are being disingenuous, you are being dishonest, and you are not being truthful and forthright. And members of the public, members of the media, we should not be surprised by the actions of this administration, because we have seen that this is how this current administration deals with matters of this nature. And we don't have to take our minds too far. If we turn to what would have transpired at the Assembly Legislature with the collapse of the 15th sitting, it was brought to the attention of the public that the clerk of the House did not show for duty. And instead of putting things in place and doing all that is necessary to ensure that the sitting occurs, this administration, through their own admission, would have indicated that they threw the clerk of the House under the bus. And instead of doing the right thing and putting things in place so that we can continue the business of the people, they would have tried to embarrass the clerk, bringing the House into disrepute. And the bacchanal and confusion that is currently surrounding the appointment of this Chief Administrator should not be a surprise to any of us in the public domain. And the people of Tobago would have voted overwhelmingly 14-1 to the PDP, the Progressive Democratic Patriots. The people of Tobago voted overwhelmingly. However, the people of Tobago voted for a promise of good governance, greater accountability and transparency. And we are yet to see that on this island. And we are therefore asking this administration, and we are therefore putting it to this administration, that if you cannot do the job that the people have elected you to do, we are asking you to step aside and give the people another opportunity to choose those who can do the job. Do the right thing. It is time to stop the politicking. It is time to stop trying to shape the narrative. And it is time to settle down to governing. You are entrusted with that responsibility. And we are asking you to govern. Govern in the best interests of all of Tobago. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minority Councillor. I think that this situation with respect to the Chief Administrator's non-appointment has been put into perspective and a lot of clarity has come forward on the issue. I can say more will be forthcoming, but at this time that is the information that will be presented as we ready ourselves for our next speaker this afternoon. Give me the pleasure in welcoming to the podium Assemblyman Kelvin Morris, Minority Leader of the Tobago House of Assembly, who will bring even greater clarity on many issues as we see in the public domain.
Thank you, Marilyn, and let me say good afternoon to Minority Councillor. Let me say good afternoon to everyone who is logged on and listening to this press briefing of the Minority Council. Let me also thank you, members of the media, for accepting our invitation to carry this media briefing and keeping our people here in Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, and the rest of the diaspora informed. Members, Tobagonians all, this afternoon's press briefing is one that is very critical and one that treats with a very serious issue confronting all of Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago at this time. And you would have heard me from very early, based on the actions of the Chief Secretary, saying to you that what the person the Chief Secretary purports himself to be, he is not. And I came to that conclusion by listening to the many commitments, the many promises that the Chief Secretary would have made either on the hustings or while even as Chief Secretary, and see him blatantly break those promises, break those commitments. Whether it would have been with the contractors, remember where he told the contractors sometime in June that they would be paid, and then a few weeks later he then reneged on his word and he went out on an all-out skating attack on the contractors. Remember what he did to the workers before the elections. Remember this Chief Secretary telling all of Tobago that you don't have to worry about your jobs, because once the PDP get into power, your jobs are secure. And then within the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I recall him at a function where Viewport was being awarded, indicating that there are something called political hires, and they would be treating with political hires. And then we saw firstly the M&E down at infrastructure, where Tobagonians were being summarily dismissed. And then we recall Office of the Chief Secretary, that liaison program they were summarily dismissed. And then we would recall in community development, the CPEP program, they were also dismissed. And across the length and board of the Tobago House of Assembly, we have seen Tobagonians being dismissed after the Chief Secretary would have given a commitment. So I want to play a clip, one clip, very quickly, of another commitment the Chief Secretary gave us, the person who he wanted us to believe he is.
Tobago has to correct, we have to correct our behaviors. And I'm talking in third person plural because I am here now. And not only that, when I'm here or not, we are all part of a systemic problem that allows that kind of behavior to fester. And I said it during the budget debate, and I'll say it again, that the same standard I'm holding for those that left before, I'm holding the same standards for this team. And I pray God that nobody on this team puts their hand in the cookie jar. Because if you put your hand in the cookie jar, you will be caught. And if you are caught, I will deal with you the same way I will deal with those opposite who have done similarly. It has to be a rule across the board. Because when we look at the matter of corruption globally, it takes significant chunks of countries' GDPs, and for a small island developing state like ours, it is quite worrying, the levels of corruption.
And there you have it. And one, you must admit, the Chief Secretary is really good with words. A perfect statement telling us about corruption, holding people accountable, and if you are caught with your hand in the cookie jar, what will happen, and so forth. That is folly. That is a folly he wants us to believe he is. But I also want you to play another clip, and that is a clip that has caught the attention of the national public. The folly behind closed doors.
Find the plan, so the plan with the strategy, whatever. We need to once you get approval. When it is, you see at 30 people now, you might just need 5 or 7 to do strict PR, so you can use some propaganda. Whether they don't use fake profiles, whether they don't use their own profiles, whatever they do. And what you will have to consider is finding a way to employ people on the THA side. Could be media class.
We don't have to, yeah, most of them kind of got a way to ship mail, and we found that.
And most of them kind of get employed already.
Yeah. So that's basic. Other so not employed to bring them in because they are happy to do the thing on the side for the time. Once we employ them 8 to 4 in a lucrative.
So they get income.
Yes, that is what we know. So we will organize.
And that will help. That will help even with as I was indicating. With the challenge you raised in terms of how to organize responding to the news in Trinidad, that can help in shaping the narrative. Because I was shaping the narratives. I don't want us to stop campaigning and then switch it back.
So there you have it, folks. You have the Fali, who is there on show for the public, and then you have the voice of Fali again when no one is looking. When he thought no one was looking. And what we heard in that conversation, because I want us to pay some attention to the content. This conversation was a clear conversation about senior public officers conspiring to misuse public funds, our funds, funds belonging to the taxpayers, for personal benefit and mischief. That is to spread propaganda, that is to mislead and change narrative, and that is to defame and demean their opponents. That, my dear friends, in the simplest form of the law, is corruption. So the conversation, the content, is a conversation of corruption. And therefore, I was quite disappointed last night when the first response after 21 days of silence, hiding, ducking, running, and even pretending he's on the phone when he sees the media. The first statement out of his mouth is, rather than tell us, the question is simple. The audio recordings have two clear voices that sounds like the Chief Secretary in one instance and the Secretary of Education in the other. And the question is simple. Are those voices that of you and Zia? And the only answer at this point, understanding that it's a corrupt act, the only answer I would accept, and the public of Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago should accept at this time, and the only conversation when this, so the question is, Farley, is that voice in the clip you? And this is the only answer I would accept. This is the only answer. This is the only answer.
It wasn't me.
That is the only answer.
It wasn't me.
That is the only answer that could absolve. So I heard him talking about being exonerated.
It wasn't me.
That is the only answer.
It wasn't me.
It's simple, Farley. Was it or was it not you? Was it or was it not you? Was it or was it not you, Farley Chavez Augustine? Simple, brothers and sisters. Very simple. That is the fact of this matter. Very easy. Playing smart with foolishness, telling us about he and his executive would be exonerated because of some security concern, and telling us, it's clear we're not stupid, because they're believing that Tobagonians are fools and trying to take us for fools, but we are not, because you stayed silent for 21 days to answer a simple question. And now it is clear that you're now coming to be technical about it, so you're trying to shoot the messenger, because it's clear that you're trying now to say that wherever this conversation was had, that the room was bugged, and that somebody surreptitiously was able to retrieve this information. But it matters not how the information was gathered, because at the end of the day, what this person was able to provide to the public is a conversation of criminality. And this person should be applauded. In fact, if I have my way, they should be awarded. And this is what the whistleblower legislation that is currently in the parliament is really trying to foster. Persons coming forward to expose criminality in government services, persons coming forward to expose corrupt politicians, persons coming forward to expose politicians purporting to be who they are not. And in fact, I also want to commend the person who dropped off this lovely brown package to me, because recently I've been receiving a lot of packages, but this one here caught my attention, that came to me very recent. And while the package contains a number of information, some I'm not ready to reveal, but I have a flash drive. And then the one I would just really expose to the public today is the revelation and the confirmation that this matter has caught the attention of a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, who he or she or he purports to be a pensioner and a patriot, and they would have gone ahead. In their letter, they state that they went ahead, they sought some legal advice and got some advice and some guidance, and they would have written a 4-page complaint, 4 pages of complaint, and I blotted out the name and the signature, but 4 pages of complaint to the Integrity Commission, complaining about this audio recording, which a person in their complaint insists, after hearing the audio recording and hearing the voices of both Farley Chavez Augustine and Assemblyman Zorisha Hackett for over 100 times in the public domain, they are convinced that those voices are that of Farley Chavez Augustine and Zorisha Hackett, and they are convinced that a crime has been committed against the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and they have asked the Integrity Commission to investigate this matter forthwith as to see whether any of the laws within the integrity in public life was breached, and further whether any laws within the Prevention of Corruption Act was also breached. And therefore, what this means, Trinidad and Tobago, Trinidad, is that we now have officially a situation where two of your most senior public officials in Tobago is under criminal investigation at this time. This letter confirms that the criminal proceedings at the level of the Integrity Commission has now been properly registered, and these two public officials, the Honorable, well, I'll say the Chief Secretary, Farley Chavez Augustine, and the Secretary for Education, Research and Technology, Zorisha Hackett, are now the subject of criminal investigations at the level of the Integrity Commission. It is also my understanding that a team from the Anti-Corruption Bureau of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is also actively engaging this matter. And at this stage, as we have seen with the issue with the chief administrator and the public official, who has been asked and has been suspended based on the fact that there are allegations and an ongoing investigation, he has been suspended from office. And I'm saying in similar vein, it leaves to the Chief Secretary and the Secretary of Education to, in a similar way, to vacate the office of Chief Secretary and Secretary of Education forthwith until such time as this investigation has been properly investigated and completed. And that is where, and that is the only time there's exoneration. So I heard the Chief Secretary saying 21 days for Crapo and 1 day for schoolboy. But what he forgot to tell us, that it also says 21 days for thieves and 1 day for police. And the police is on its way on this matter. Additionally, and I want to speak to the members of the executive of the Assembly, because the Chief Secretary in his pronouncement last night was very clear. And I think I should play that response of the Chief Secretary just for the benefit of the members listening who may have missed it.
That's one thing I don't do. I set my own agenda. The media doesn't set my agenda. But beyond that, I will speak extensively on the issue. And I could tell you this is more than just an audio tape and involves some security considerations, extremely serious at that requires me as leader to ensure I spend enough time mulling over it. I think somebody asked me today and said, well, it's about 21 days and you ain't talk about it yet. But the truth is, it could be 21 days for couple school, but I only need 1 day. Right? So be very, and I can also say with a very high degree of confidence that when I speak on this issue, myself and the executive will be properly exonerated. So I have no fear at all. So don't lose sleep over it. In fact, by the time we get to the end of this week, you will hear much more extensively about this matter and some others as well.
So the Chief Secretary is saying don't lose sleep, but if I was him, and based on the information I received on this, I would lose some sleep, because there's more in the mortar than in the pestle. And on top of that, the Chief Secretary did something very clever that I sure might have missed a lot of you. And is that he went on to implicate his entire Executive Council. Because here it is, there's an issue with an audio recording of just you and your Secretary of Education, but you went on to tell us that it is your entire Executive Council that you are seeking to exonerate, which means that at some point, at some level, wherever this conversation was happening, it appears that this was happening in the full view of his entire Executive Council. And today, I want to call on members of the Executive Council, every 16 members of them, and all who were present at the time. You have still some chance to free yourself, to rid yourself of the trouble to come. I'm therefore encouraging you, as these investigations, both at the level of the police begins and the level of the Integrity Commission, to go quietly, speak your truth, and let the truth set you free. Do not try to hide for anybody. Your silence is also admittance, and you are going to be seen as an accomplice. Speak, and speak the truth. I am calling on members of the executive, go and do the right thing. It's not too late, and I'm going to call some of them by name because some of them I know and I hold dear as colleagues. Because the first thing I said to these members, I said I would hate to see any one of us coming in here at the end of the 4-year term have to walk out in silver bracelet. And I am saying it again, Natisha Charles Pantin, I know you to be a good woman. Go and speak your truth. Joel Notsi Sampson, you is my partner. Go and speak your truth. Wayne Wasp Clark, I know you to be a no-nonsense man. Go and speak your truth. My boy Sonny Craig, Sonny Days, don't let the rain fall on your brother Sonny. Go and speak your truth. And the man they call him pastor that like to sing and bring down the heavens, brother Pastor Baines, go and speak your truth. Folks, this is as much as I'm prepared to say at this time, given that this matter is now under police investigation. I'm calling on all of Tobago and everyone and anyone with any information that can help this matter being prosecuted to the end. Please go quietly to the police, go quietly to the Integrity Commission, and provide them with the information that you have. And finally, on this matter, I want to call on Tobagonians, because we have a way we like to politicize things and we see things red and black and who did do and who didn't do and who do more and who didn't do more. We have an opportunity here before us, once and for all, to show an example to not just Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, but to the world, that we do not stand for corruption. We do not stick corruption. We do not entertain corruption. We don't care who it is. We don't care how much we like them. But at the end of the day, we will stand for what is right and we will prosecute what is wrong. Tobago, the world is looking on, and we all will be judged by the way we treat with this matter. I'm seeing a lot of people trying to downplay the seriousness of this matter. This is a crime, and even if persons before didn't get catch, we finally get we hands on two. And we have to make an example of them too, so that anybody else with that kind of inclination of misusing public funds, because when you elect persons and give them your trust to govern billions of dollars, you expect that they will do right by you. So whether or not the complaint is it was done before, these two get catch. I remember as a student in Bishops, at one time I got curious afternoon after school. Them boys always playing cards. And I decided to go around and watch. And eventually I decided to play cards with them. And when the principal showed up in the classroom, they already know the routine, so they run. And poor me, first time, you know what? I don't know how to run, so I get catch. And I had to face the consequences, and that taught me that at no time should you let down your guard, at no time should you compromise your integrity. And therefore, I'm saying today to all Tobagonians, it matters not what would have gone on before, what is to come. But what is in front of us is a situation where two public officials were caught with their pants down. And we must ensure that they stand the consequences of their actions. And we must, with one voice, I'm calling on the church groups, I'm calling on the community groups, the sporting groups, I'm calling on the layman, the man on the street, I'm calling on all of us for us to unite and demand from tomorrow the immediate resignation of both the Chief Secretary, Mr. Fali Chavez Augustine, and the Secretary of Education, Ms. Zorisha Hackett. By this time, their silence and their non-denial is an admittance of guilt. So there's no question about that at this point. They are guilty as charged. They have not denied that it's not their voices. They have not denied that the conversation didn't happen. Therefore, they have no other choice in this matter but to demit office. And I say no more on this. However, I have one more matter I want to discuss very quickly. One more. And this matter I'm going to discuss with you is a long-standing matter, because Tobago, we have a problem. We have a problem with corruption, and you would think an administration that came on the heels of telling Tobagonians that the previous administration was corrupt would have come and done better. But we have in front of us right now, I can say without contradiction, the most corrupt administration to ever pass through the history of the Tobago House of Assembly. And I've been following couple matters, and you would see me come in the house asking questions. It's because I get brown envelopes like this, and I have some information, but I'm digging, and I want to put everything together before I come out and speak to you. And for heaven's sake, two issues I've been dealing with. One, the school repair program that was riddled with corruption and kickbacks. And two, those road resurfacing programs that were handpicked and given to financiers in Trinidad. And in those two instances, I have asked because I wasn't getting the answers through the House, through the Assembly. So I would have filed two FOIs, that is the Freedom of Information Act, using the Freedom of Information Act to get the responses. And I'm asking simple questions. What was the process of tendering? How did you go about choosing your contractors? Let me see the evaluation reports. Let me see the financials of these companies that you said had to have certain financial criteria. And to this day, it has been absolute silence. You see the silence you all got for the last 21 days? I've been getting that since December the 12th, since the last 6 months. So I have had enough of it, and I have instructed my lawyers, and today I've had the pleasure of getting the pre-action protocol letters in hand. So my lawyers have filed pre-action protocol, sent two pre-action protocol letters out, one to Assemblyman Trevor James, Secretary for the Division of Infrastructure, and one to, I don't know if by tomorrow she'll still be Assemblywoman, but Assemblyman Zorisha Hackett as well. And these are pre-action protocol letters in the matter of a proposed claim for judicial review pursuant to Section 39 of the Freedom of Information Act. And what these letters are calling for them to do is produce this information that I've been asking for 6 months. They are duty-bound to produce those information by Friday, lest we go to court. And when we go to court, they will be utilizing your taxpayers' money, wasting it to protect their dirty deeds. So I am telling you, make sure they don't take your money and go court with your money to prevent me from getting the information to protect your interests. Let them provide the information by Friday. So ladies and gentlemen, these are the matters we are treating with. Tobago, we have a problem. Tobago, you cannot stay asleep. And all they're telling you they're minding your business, Tobago, they're lying to you. They're minding their own because they're lining their pockets as we here suffering. So many people suffering. So many people can't get food card. But you plotting to go and give people lucrative work to spread propaganda. Could that ever be right? This is vexing. This is something none of us should accept. Tobago, let's stand up. Tobago, let's call for the resignation of both Farley and Zarisha. I thank you.
Yes, folks. So we have, for those who would have missed it, you would have had the privilege of benefiting from the entire press conference that was held today. And coming out of that, we're going to take a short break, pay a couple bills, and when we get back, we're going to highlight a couple points and have a bit of discussions. We'll be right back. Continue to share that live. Let's keep the live going up. We're already over 300 persons logged on, and let's involve as many people in the process as possible. We're going to take some messages, we're going to take some comments, and possibly some calls if we have time. So we'll be right back.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
From the experts that created the Zinger sandwich comes the KFC Crispy Barbecue Zinger. Cheddar cheese, crispy onions, the most delicious Kentucky Fried Chicken, and barbecue sauce. Get ready for a whole new level of flavor.
Good morning, morning, good morning, morning. Put a smile on your
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tapago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tapago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO, and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tapago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tapago's at your service.
October will never be better with Tobago Carnival fever. Okay, passage and come on over.
Mamai Lakai Home Services. We specialize in cleaning of carpets and rugs, mattresses, living room and dining room sets, vehicle detailing, cleaning and sanitizing of homes and commercial spaces. We also do landscaping and tree cutting, pressure and power washing, floor care, fumigating and air purifying. You can also call us for professional painting services, babysitting and adult sitting. Call us now 333-4430 at Mamai Lakai Home Services. We take cleaning to another level. Welcome to Limage Parfait Day Spa, your urban oasis and wellness center. Our services includes massages, treatments, facials, pedicures, weight management, detox programs, and much more. Call us today at 624-1452 or 720-7474. Trinidad locations and Bonacore, Tobago at 273-7772. Let us treat you like the VIP you are.
Excel Spa by Haley, where our highly trained staff are ready to deliver the top-class services in facial, massages, waxing, nail enhancement and body treatment. We are ideally located at Coco Avenue, Switzerland, Tobago. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TripAdvisor, or you can call us on 730-0149. Excel Spa by Haley. Relax, renew, and rejuvenate.
And folks, we are back in studio. We want to just touch a bit on the information that we would have just had the benefit and the privilege of hearing. And this was a press conference that was held earlier today out of the Office of the Minority Leader, and quite a bit of information was shared. And just to recap a bit, we heard the discussion from the Minority Councillor, Mrs. Petal Daniel Benoit, with respect to the non-appointment of the Chief Administrator. And as we get into this recap, I would like to indicate that we are opening the lines, and those of you who are willing to call, the numbers to call are 284-6597, 284-6597, and 356-8833. We want you to keep your call brief, to the point, and feel free to comment on the information that we would have seen and heard pass on this evening and tonight yet again. So we saw the Minority Councillor addressing the issue of the non-appointment of the Chief Administrator, and a number of things coming out of that in terms of accountability. And the question has been asked, in the absence of the chief administrator, who is actually doing approvals, who is signing off on situations, who is actually carrying the bulk of the decision-making process, and this is something that is very serious. The chief administrator, being that chief accounting officer and a public servant, as it were, is not a role that can now be adopted by the chief secretary or by any other member of the administration. And we would have heard quite clearly in an interview just about 2 mornings prior to today, the deputy chief secretary informing Tobago that the chief secretary was busy taking on the responsibilities that may have been left vacant in the absence of the chief administrator being appointed. And we would really like the deputy chief secretary or the chief secretary to indicate to us in Tobago what are those responsibilities and under whose jurisdiction or authority is he carrying out the responsibilities, as was said, as was stated and quoted by the deputy chief secretary, in terms of holding on for the chief administrator or filling the positions as she would have put it across. So very, very serious allegations coming out of that, very, very serious questions asked by the minority councillor. And we're calling on the administration yet again to come clean with the people of Tobago and to clear the air. We also heard that the administration, yet again, in another act or a move that was very deceptive, we heard the deputy chief secretary speak about trying to bring the prime minister into it. And the prime minister would have cleared the air on that particular issue quite clearly, speaking to a number of situations that occurred, in himself identifying the fact that he would have met with the chief secretary, spoken at least for an hour and a half, and at no point in time was it indicated to him by the chief secretary that there was a change of heart or that the individual who was next in line to be transitioned into the position, that individual was the subject of any form of investigation or was to become. It's funny, though, that the report that would have been made to the Public Service Commission would have been made by the Tobago House of Assembly through the outgoing chief administrator at the time, Mrs. Etlin John. And so no communication was made yet. Still, we all saw that our replacement recommendation was also set in place or put in place by the Chief Secretary and the Tobago House of Assembly. So it begs for us to ask the question, if it is in fact that the Chief Secretary deceived or sought to deceive the Prime Minister in that meeting by failing to provide all the information that was necessary for clarity and for transparency of the process. We would have also seen, coming out of that, we would have heard actually a number of issues raised by the minority leader with respect to what has now come to be known as the audio gate issue. A number of things circulating, but most prevalent, we saw the chief secretary in a town meeting just last night speak to the issue. When questioned, he took a bravado type of stand, literally saying to us that nobody could ask him to speak on anything unless he has decided that he could speak on it, or when he has decided that he will speak on it. I think his exact words were that nobody could force him, and he's not going to respond to any media. Might I take the opportunity to remind the goodly Chief Secretary that he was hired by the people of Tobago to be a servant of the people of Tobago in managing the affairs of the island and those resources that indeed are owned by the people of Tobago. And so it is without question that when called upon to account or to give account for your actions or different things and different circumstances that are out in the public domain, it is let's say, disrespectful, to say the least, nothing short of it, to then hit Tobago a slap in the face by simply saying Nobody could ask you a question or nobody could force you to respond to any question until you are willing to do so. And we all know that in the regular manner that we've seen this administration work, when the chief secretary and or his charges have indicated that they would speak to an issue soon, we know that soon never comes. I know there's a famous song that says tomorrow never comes, but it's clear that this administration are living out and manifesting that song where tomorrow never comes. We're going to go to a short break, folks, and when we come back, we're going to take your calls, closing comments, and we're going to just touch on the balance of the issues as raised during the press conference today. We'll be right back.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
Good morning, morning, good morning, morning. Put a smile on your
October will never be better. With Tobago, carnival fever. Book your passage and come on over.
And folks, we are back in studio, and joining me for this final segment of this evening's program is none other than the man himself, Senator Lawrence Hislop. Welcome, Senator. Good to have you, man.
Not Marlon. When Marlon introduced like the man himself, you swear he's some big celebrity. Good night, Tobago. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Marlon is good to
yes. Senator Hislop, fresh out of the People's Business today, again sitting through another Joint Select Committee forum, and coming into studio to continue lending the support as per usual and really bringing a lot of value to the program. The lines are open, folks, and the numbers to call are 284-6597, 356-8833. And we go to Senator Hislop. You would have heard, I know, the press conference earlier today and probably had an opportunity to listen in a bit on it. Give us your thoughts. What do you think the present state of Tobago? I know you would be speaking to a lot of persons and so on, and tell us how you feel about where we are as an island presently.
Good night again. Marlon, I'm worried, I'm upset, I'm concerned, simply from the standpoint that we are at a place that I don't think we've ever been as it relates to the governance of Tobago. The short time that I've had on this earth that God has given me, I have never seen the governance the way it is, as we're faced with now, where you, as was revealed today by the minority leader, you have a citizen writing to the Integrity Commission concerning what we all know is in the media now and within Tobago, as well as also reports coming in the media that the Anti-Corruption Bureau has launched an investigation. And so we are in the news for all the wrong reasons. And that's never a good place to be. And it's a bit sad that this is where we are as an island. After the administration would have been given a huge mandate to lead Tobago, it's unfortunate that media personnel outside of Tobago have to be calling on Tobago to ask, where is your leader? and when the first morning I heard that, I said, wow. I said, we're really in a very interesting place where we are being called upon to answer the question, where is your leader? And to me, that is not a good place for us to be as an island.
I want you to comment as well. We saw, and it's been circulating a lot on the social media platforms, a clip of the Chief Secretary at a town meeting last night in Bagatelle, the Bagatelle District town meeting. And his posturing when asked the question with respect to when something would be said and so on, his posturing that he took, or the posture that he adopted, seemed to be one of arrogance, seemed to be one of dokie. And we've seen that type of posturing a lot coming from the Chief Secretary over the recent months. How do you now feel as someone also in public life that this is what represents the posture that Tobago is seeing or is feeling, and that is what is given off to the wider community and the wider world? Many persons, even abroad, and the minority leader would have spoken clearly today, even to the diaspora. We have persons literally concerned. Tell us how you feel about the posture that we've now seen as the normal, everyday posture of this Chief Secretary.
No, well, as I said before, I am, as a Tobagonian, I'm hurt. And people may find it strange, and you may even get the negative comments. And I want to divorce this. I want to divorce the politics from the conversation just a little bit. And persons really have we as Tobagonians have to do an introspection as to where we are at and whether we are comfortable with this level of governance. Because the arrogance last night was just a continuation of the arrogance of the last 20 days. Because by not answering to the population as to the audio recording and the validity of it, by not answering to that, you were showing a level of arrogance, and when you finally spoke after 21 days, your utterances were arrogant. And so I think, and I think the minority leader said it today as well, we deserve better. And all I say to individuals all the time, if this was a PNM administration in office, the level of defense that is being played now by supporters of the Chief Secretary, these are the same people that would be calling for heads to rule if it was a PNM administration. And this, I say this from the standpoint that over and over again, this administration, when campaigning, promised that they will be different, promised that they are going to be better. And what we have received is a lot worse than what was promised. And I don't think any citizen of this island, any right-thinking person, should be comfortable with where we are at, or what we have been receiving as leadership, because it's not where we should be.
We also have a situation, and I know you're very well aware of it, where the island now has no chief administrator. We saw the Deputy Chief Secretary attempt to involve the Prime Minister. Very disingenuous, however, and again, only trying to speak, hoping that Tobagonians don't do their research and don't follow up on issues. But we have a situation where even after meeting with the PM, the Chief Secretary gave an assurance and gave the impression as if everything was okay with the transitioning. And then after that process, we saw the Assembly, the same Tobago House of Assembly, issue a report to the Public Service Commission through the outgoing Chief Administrator on the last day of her tenure. What are the questions in your head? Firstly, we've been in this position about a month. And then in terms of how this was done, what is your interpretation? If you were to just sit in the seat and from the outside looking on, what would you interpret this move to reflect?
Well, I'm not a public service expert. I've made no secret of it that I've never worked in the government sector. So knowing the intricacies of the public service is not my thing, is not my expertise. But what was significant for me is when the Prime Minister said that a conversation happened between him and the Chief Secretary. And to me, there is some clouding of the timelines. And I think it would have been the right thing to do as a Chief Secretary if you knew that there was an audit taking place and the possibility that an individual whose name may come forward as the candidate for Chief Administrator, that you would just share with the Prime Minister, this is what is going on, PM. I think we may want to reconsider. And you don't even have to you may not have had the information or the grounds for suspension, but you are aware that an audit was taking place, and this senior public servant's name could be coming up in the audit or in questions in the audit. And I think it was a bit disingenuous if that was the case. It was very disingenuous for the Chief Secretary not to have said to the Prime Minister, we are having this name could be a challenge.
So folks, we have come to what we deem the end of a very, very informative evening. I want to thank Senator Hislop for still joining us for the final segment of the program this evening. We saw quite a bit showcased, and I'm saying this out and I'm putting it out there, especially firstly to public servants. We have seen a precedence and a track record by this administration of, in their own words, throwing public servants under the bus. And here we see a continuation of it. We heard it in the House when the Assembly actually met. By their own acknowledgement, it was stated by the Deputy Presiding Officer, it was only after we threw the clerk under the bus. And I'm saying to all public servants, be careful, be aware. This administration has a history and continues to put public service officers in the line of fire when they are caught in scrupulous positions.
But very quickly before we wrap, Ireland, what I found strange is that after the Prime Minister had his press conference and shared that information, the Chief Secretary at the town hall meeting could have addressed it and didn't address it. And if what the Prime Minister had put into the space was not factual,
yes,
I believe by now the Chief Secretary would have already answered that.
Yes, spoken out.
And for me that is very telling.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we as we close this evening with that word of caution to public servants, with the word of caution to all of Tobago, we are asking you to be mindful, be very watchful, be vigilant of what you do and how you are taking instructions to carry out different acts and different initiatives, because this administration will not protect you. And in closing this evening, I'll ask the director just to put up that flyer. We are seeing here a call going out to all NGOs, unions, churches, and all decent, right-thinking Tobagonians to come out in your numbers and take a stand against corruption and misbehavior in the highest level of public office in Tobago. On June 19th, which is the Labor Day celebration day, we must all descend upon Gardenside Car Park in Scarborough at 1 p.m. sharp. From there, there's going to be a march straight up to James Park to signal to Farley and his upholders and this administration, the independents, that the people of Tobago do not support corruption and deceitful governance. So folks, this is a call, a clarion call being issued by the minority leader and all those who are right thinking and all those who stand against the corrupt practices that we've seen unfolding in Tobago. And I dare say this is very, very serious, it's very critical, and it will involve each and every one of us. Let us not allow the opportunity to pass us by that we can address what is happening in the public domain and that we can build back and give back to Tobago its reputation as the island that it was and was becoming. Folks, I want to thank you for staying logged on, for supporting and being a part of the program this evening. I want to thank Senator Hislop again for joining us and lending his voice to addressing some of the issues. The clarion call has been sent out. We want you to spread the word, get the word around, get as many persons involved. And on June 19th, come out and let your voice be heard. I'm Marlon David saying good night and have a wonderful rest of the night, and God bless.